My name is Ethan. Welcome to Fungi and Fare. Today's video, going to be talking some more about the company's goals, and I might end up making this a longer one because I want to draw some things out as a proof of concept. But for Fungi and Fare, some of the goals, we have 6 of them. 6. And the first one is being greater than or equal to 90% off grid. I'm going to go into this one a little bit later with the proof of concept. I got a big whiteboard. My lights turned off, so there's not glare. One, I think that would be really cool, but proof of concept later. Carbon negative, with some of the things I would like to do. For instance, these right here are flashcards from the certifying authority in Michigan on what mushrooms you can forage and sell at, say, a farmer's market. This is a pretty thick stack of flashcards. Some of them are actually poisonous to people, but that's besides the point. So when I say carbon negative, what I would like to do is use like the carbon negative aspect as also a conservation piece. So there's a lot of landowners in the states that we live in, obviously, and within like those various parcels of land, there is an ecosystem. So, for instance, what I'd like to do is I would like to take edible varieties of mushrooms and inoculate people's forests with them, provided they are local to the air, like the state that they're in. So, for instance, I wouldn't take a fungus that was from South America and inoculate a bunch of Florida land with it because I don't want that sort of ecological issue on my conscience. I want to help. So, with that being said, the idea is okay, so say there's a bunch of deciduous trees on this particular property. All right, let's go through with a little bit of, say, oyster mushrooms, or I don't know, maybe some chicken of the woods, Letoporus sulpharis, which is, it actually does taste like chicken, which is freaking sweet. But that's kind of the idea. Like, all right, let's just inoculate your property. It'll increase the bioactivity on your land, and if you're crunchy enough, you'll eat the mushrooms. So that's where the carbon negative aspect comes into it. As the next one is educational services. I've so I got a phone call from an old teacher of mine, and he said, "Hey Ethan, I know you're getting into this mushroom stuff. I have some inoculated wood substrate. I was just wondering if you would come in and teach us how to grow these mushrooms because you're the only guy I know." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll show up. Like that sounds like a great time." And it kind of turned into an impromptu class for an audience of about a dozen people. And the mushrooms that they decided to grow were shiitake mushrooms and lion's mane, which I did a good enough job, I guess, that I was able to go home with 2 logs, one of shiitake, one of lion's mane. However, I don't own my own property, so the spot that I had was clear cut, and that log disappeared. So hopefully, it's existing happily somewhere else, growing some delicious mushrooms. But I think it's important that that the opportunity to learn about how to cultivate your own mushrooms is shared with others, primarily because A, it offers ecological benefits if you're using it responsibly, B, source of food, and C, like the nutritional value. I'm not going to go into the nutritional value very often on a lot of these because I'm not an expert on it, and I'm not going to tell you what you should eat, what you shouldn't, because everybody is different. So the educational services would primarily be for outreach, teaching people how to cultivate their own mushrooms, educating folks on, say, like, oh yeah, this is the characteristics of this particular fungus, or these are the distinctions uh, between various fungi around the world. So that's what I think would be cool for teaching people. Wholesale options. The industry of mycology is increasing at a pretty rapid pace. It's not an industry that a lot of people are talking about because nobody really. I mean, as far as a consumer, right? Like, there's not a lot of mushroom toppings on things. However, their uses as far as gosh, I saw something like breaking down diapers, eating plastic, munching on hydrocarbons and oil. Like, these are really incredible organisms, and I think if, say, a patent were to be made for a very particular issue, like shoot, I don't even know. Like, you want to? How about this? Car tires. If there was a fungus that could eat and destroy car tires, I think that would be a pretty good thing to have a patent on. But all of it is going to require research, which that is kind of what we're doing right now. We're getting some sort of formal education in order to bolster our resume and provide, a little bit of, I mean, obviously some credentials for what we're talking about. Because oftentimes, what I've noticed, what happens when we're on the internet is that as long as somebody says something super confidently and they say they have a piece of paper, like, a lot of people will believe them. Which this is a pretty raw, I don't know, video log of this process that I'm going through. And I don't know, I don't really want to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, or, be misleading in any type of way with the information that I provide and the information I have. Because really, like, we need to be responsible consumers of media and look into that ourselves. Anyways, the the greater than or equal to 90% off grid. I'm actually going to draw this out because I think it's completely possible. Uh, to be honest, it seems like it'll be a lot of math, but I don't know. Once I get some formal blueprints and maybe some people who are better at math than I am, we can get something going. Oh shoot, gotta adjust this. But anyways, cool. All right, sweet. So I've been seeing this on the internet, right? And essentially, whoops, we're gonna start a little bit straighter. Essentially, what I've seen is that some people, they build their house inside of a greenhouse. Okay? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be the design, but for demonstration purposes, I think it'll work. So, this is the greenhouse that the company is theoretically living in. Okay? What I would like to see, and I think it's a possibility, it would be an undertaking, but I don't think it would be incredibly hard. So I'm just going to draw in like a couple of superstructures that are kind of needed for this to work as I imagine it in my head. So basically, we have our office space here. I'm just drawing them in boxes. You'll get the idea in a second. So we need electricity, plumbing, and heating and cooling, right? In a previous life, I was a plumber, and I think that it's completely possible that. So as far as the heating and cooling is concerned, all right, I think it's completely possible that this entire facility, we're going to call it facility, could be done like complete, like off grid as shit. Off grid as the, sorry for cussing. Anyways, what I imagine is this right here being this orange block being compost. Now, the reason I say that is because when compost reaches, I don't know, like maximum return to the earth, it becomes very hot. And my theory is that with all of the biomass that we would be creating in waste, along with, I don't know, say a compost pickup service, right? Like, we need substrate. Drop your food scraps off here. I think that depending on the location, obviously, in the winter months, there could be a hotline essentially, and when I say that, just a big tube of water running through this compost pile in one direction and feeding back into this facility in the other direction, and vice versa when it comes to the air conditioning. So, for instance, this is a little body of water, okay, little pond, for instance. Oh, actually, hold on. We'll switch that up. There we go. That's better for demonstration. So hot compost transfers hot water back into the facility. Little pond, hot water goes out, cold water comes back in. Because water's many, many times more. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think it's like 76% more thermodynamic than air, which means that, you know, heat and cold affect it a lot faster. I'm not an expert in thermodynamics, but that's my best understanding of it. So this could be completely powered by a couple of pumps, right? All it is just running hot water where it needs to be warm and cold water where it needs to be cool. So as far as electricity is concerned, to power these pumps, power the lab, maybe power some like grow lights for some microgreens, maybe, because that was mentioned in a previous video. Going to need some solar panels, right? So obviously we could put those here in very particular places to, I don't know, maybe shade certain areas. For instance, I think what would probably be a good idea is to have like the actual lab portion shaded, just to minimize the draw for energy when it comes to heating and cooling this place. But the big saving factor as far as energy consumption is concerned is having this entire structure built inside of a greenhouse would essentially make a little bubble and temper it from what's going on outside of the greenhouse. Now, granted, this idea is mainly applies to places that have colder climates, which is, kind of me right now. So, well, I mean, it's June, but in the winter months, colder climates. So this, I think, would work really well for, northwestern states, midwestern states, places that get winter. And I would like to build in a place that has winter, just because I like the seasons changing. So I think this would be very beneficial as far as saving power, or saving energy, and that would, in turn, like, you're saving energy, you can you're saving energy, draw less. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that by reducing the consumption in, I don't want to say passive ways, but in very forward thinking ways, I think that's where the real moneymaker is, because really the primary expense, and once again being a plumber in a previous life, the primary expense is like the things you can't fix yourself. So in my brain, why not just make something that you can't break, or that would be difficult to break, or it doesn't fail often? And I think that power to a couple of pumps and maybe some lights and Wi-Fi router is a lot simpler than trying to completely fit a pre-existing building to like a brand new plumbing system and a bunch of grow lights for a new microgreens facility that's going to exist like in the city, which obviously more of them should. But then again, like it it really depends on what the break even point would be for, you know, I have different goals compared to microgreens companies that are going to cities. Like, I'm not throwing shade, but like as an example, it's like, all right, what are the priorities, I guess? Like, if you're in it to make money, like that's respectable. Like, you gotta have some capital to buy yourself out of the rat race. Respect. But I want to do something just a bit bigger, something outside of myself. Like, basically, this entire project, okay, is going to be the seed I plant for the tree I will never know the shade of. Now, this is very rough, but we're just spitballing, creating content, and let me know what you think, because I would love to hear some excellent ideas from decent folks like yourself.